Man, it's been a long time since I've been on this podcast, and I got to tell you that theme song really hypes me up.
It is a hype theme song. It is a super hype theme song, man. Oh
Yep.
yeah, it's good to have you back on.
Welcome, yes, welcome to the Jets and Giants show, guys. I am your host, Walt. Jose is not with us today because he is literally in the air right now, flying from the West Coast to the East Coast. We have on my right hand side Gabe, who has been doing a hell of a job just keeping it down for us. You know what I'm saying?
Trying my best.
So,
Trying my best.
yeah, man. Listen, the last couple of weeks for me, I was in Pennsylvania for the weekend. The week after that, I was in Jersey for a funeral and a first-year birthday party. And right now, I'm in Georgia, and so it's been kind of chaotic for all of us.
They call you the traveling man.
Yeah, well, I wish. So, you know. But we're here to talk about Jets and Giants, and I'm super excited for this season. And we are literally 2 or 3 weeks away from the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. It's crazy how quick it's coming up on us. It feels like we just couldn't wait to get here, and now that it's here, it's coming a lot faster than what it felt.
Oh, hell yeah!
That this season that's been coming up, I said it before in our podcast that with Hard Knocks and the draft and the combine and all the hoopla, the spectacle that it has become, whereas the offseason has really kind of shortened that wait. It's made us more excited, I think, for the season to come, but it's also shortened that offseason period. It does kind of feel like it was just yesterday when we were watching the Super Bowl and recording our thoughts on that. So it's cool that we're back on it. So yeah, before we get started, let's not forget, please like, rate, share, and subscribe. Hit that button. Let people know who we are and what we do. And thank you for joining us. Whether it's your first time or your next time that you're joining us, right? So let's get to it. Yeah.
All right, man. Can we talk real quick about Hard Knocks? I know you've been holding it down. You did your Giants perspective on Hard Knocks, and I gotta be honest, I've only seen the one episode, which is ironic because this part of the season is the stuff that I like probably the most. I love all that off season. Yeah, I know.
Service.
Well, listen, the good thing is that's still available on Max, so I can always go back to it when I get a little bit more time on my schedule. But I gotta say, the way you were kind of recapping those shows was awesome, bro. I gotta put it out there.
I'm glad that you like that. I'm glad that it helped fill that void of not being able to watch it. But I do highly recommend that you guys all check it out if you haven't yet before the first week of the season. I think it still applies. Obviously we're getting a chance to see, Neighbors and Daniel Jones and the team and kind of some of those offseason moves on the field now through the preseason. But really, we're not going to be able to really kind of judge what those moves were in the offseason until week one.
Absolutely.
First 4 weeks, first 4 games of the season and stuff. So I think it behooves you to kind of get yourself prepared by watching Hard Knocks if you have not yet. So what are your thoughts on Hard Knocks? What questions do you have? How can I enlighten you, with my biased Giants opinions?
That first episode was super awesome and kind of concerning at the same time, and not from a fan's perspective. Not from a fan's perspective, because that stuff is all the juicy stuff that you really want to see, right? You want to see, the general manager talking and trying to make all these deals happen, and the way that he deals with free agents, the way that he deals with trying to sign people. And we got, especially in that first episode, we just got a little bit of Daboll. I know that throughout the episodes we got more of Daboll.
Yeah.
So the thing that I took away from it, and like I said, from a fan's perspective, it's freaking awesome being able to see all that stuff. I just don't understand in my head why a team would ever want to go and do that again. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I say it is this, right? That first episode, we got a little bit of what was going on with Saquon Barkley,
right,
which was really cool to see. I was more concerned about the DJ stuff, like the Daniel Jones stuff, because you saw it's a different thing when you're having those conversations and they're private. It's a much different thing when millions of people, millions of NFL fans see those conversations whether they're positive or in this case, some of them were a little bit negative in terms of, you know what, he's a $40 million quarterback. We're not paying him just to hand off the ball. You know, oh, we're actively looking for a guy in the draft. Those are the conversations that I'm surprised the Giants let people hear. And like I said, I don't know if an NFL team going forward after seeing this would ever really want to have that much access to their behind the scenes and stuff.
You know,
I mean,
so you know, it's interesting because you know, I've had that same thought as well. But the you know, this is produced by the NFL itself, right? So the NFL kind of has like a obviously, you know, their ultimate say on, you know, what happens on Hard Knocks. I mean, the Giants
and the Giants also, right?
Yeah, the Giants has final edit, but as far as like production of the NFL Network and all that stuff, that's obviously the NFL organization, and it's 32 teams involved, and that means that the 32 owners all have to agree and make decisions and all that stuff, you know, regarding the Hard Knocks and everything else that happens to every other team. So it is kind of interesting because like obviously all the owners have to sign off on it, but once they sign off on it, I don't necessarily know that if I'm not mistaken, this is more of a contractual thing where like the teams have to do the Hard Knocks, and it's a matter of like it's selected and so on and so forth, right? They can't really kind of shy away from it, you know, so to speak. So it's more of a they got to do it because it's part of the contract, right? You know, it's kind of like, you know, what you would hope, you know, some players honor, like, hey, this is your contract. You're supposed to play this year. You can't just
Hassan Reddick.
Hassan Reddick. Can't just say no if you signed the contract, right? No matter what it is that you say. So I think that that's kind of like where it comes from. Now, as far as the DJ things and the DJ thing is, and with Shane, I've said this before. I think that Shane is playing chess, not checkers, long game, by quite a bit, to be honest with you. And I think that he's making a calculated decision on you know, putting that pressure out there on Daniel Jones, because for him it's like, hey, you know, I want to show not just Daniel Jones that hey, he's on the hot seat, and put the pressure on him to actually, you know, make this year happen, no matter what. And I apologize if you guys hear anything. There's apparently you know, party going on outside in the midst of the rain. But you know, it put the pressure on him to make something happen in this deciding year for him, because again, the Giants can relieve themselves of their contract of Daniel Jones, and it's also, you know, proof. It's also helping Shane kind of make the case to the public, like, hey, you know, we're not just sitting idly by. We know that we have a quarterback problem, and we are showing you that we understand that, but this is the hand that we've been dealt, and what we need to do. You know, you saw that they tried to, you know, come up in the draft in order to draft a quarterback. Thank God they didn't, because for all intents and purposes, it sounds like Drake May is not it so far at in New England. And JJ McCarthy season, you know, and those are the two guys that were kind of, I mean, JJ is the one that David was like, absolutely trade up. I would absolutely trade up anything for JJ. And look,
and he was doing well right before he got hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And,
but the thing is, like,
the other quarterback that they could have possibly looked at was Jaden Daniel, which a quarterback that's now in your division that seems to be playing really lights out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you know, I think that like we didn't have a choice really in the draft. They tried, but they were smart about how they did it, and I'm super happy that we got neighbors.
No doubt.
But this also the reason I say that like Shane is playing chess is because it goes to his Daniel Jones's contract points to that mindset of playing chess. Okay, everybody's been harping on the fact that he's a $40 million quarterback, $40 million per year quarterback, but I think Shane had that foresight, because if you look at Hard Knocks, you can see that he's an accountant. He's doing everything by accounting standards, and he has his red lines that he won't cross, you know, on certain things, all based on finances in a way that's going to affect the franchise for the future. And I think that he knew where contracts were going to be in the next couple of years. And sure enough, Daniel Jones is a middle of the road, middle of the pack quarterback. And now the contracts prove that, because he's now 14th, 15th ranked in
something like that,
right? His salary is now number 14 or 15, something like that.
his contract was never going to be where it was at when he signed it. So that was clear, especially with
exactly.
the
So like
type
everybody
of
that was
players that were
complaining that
coming.
like, oh, they were saying he was top 5 in contracts when he signed that contract. And everybody's like, well, he's not a top 5 quarterback. Well, I don't think Shane believed that either. He just knew that that's not where it was going to be. And if you consider the fact that, in this year, okay, he's gambling in a way, but in this year, he's paying him as a middle of the pack quarterback with an exit strategy if he doesn't make it happen this year. And if he does make it happen, and he has the other 2 years behind that, then it'll look like a bargain if you think about it. Okay, if Daniel Jones can make it happen, let's say he makes it to the postseason, wins a couple games, God forbid he makes it to the Super Bowl this year. Who knows? Okay, because that's one thing that we found out last year, and that we're already finding out this year, is that the NFL is the most unpredictable sport in the world. Okay, imagine he makes it to the Super Bowl. That contract now looks like he's a bargain. So
I love your enthusiasm about how they could make the Super Bowl. I love that. I love your enthusiasm about how they can possibly make the Super Bowl.
They possibly can. Okay, we have an O-line that's providing protection. We'll go into that off of like already.
No worries. So yeah, that was the thing that really bugged me out about that Hard Knocks, the way that it was framed, the way that it was done. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand what you're saying in terms of all this, like he's trying to motivate, but it seems like that's probably something that probably should have been done behind the scenes. And so for me, it's like and even listen. You have DJ, he even references, he was like, he was not happy with the way that it went down in Hard Knocks. He mentioned it in one of his interviews after a training camp thing. And so, there are 2 ways you can do this, depending on the type of quarterback and his personality is. He can either turtle up and say, you know what, they don't want me, blah, 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 this and that, or it can embolden him. Now it remains to be seen what type of person DJ is, and if that pushes him forward. I don't know if that's his style, that's his thing. I think a lot of it is internal for him. He doesn't show a lot of emotion, except for those really deep gazing eyes that he has that bugs me out every once in a while. It looks like he's looking into your soul and just pulling it out.
I want him to look into your soul.
But yeah, that was the thing that I found really interesting based on just
you hit the nail on the head,
one episode.
One thing, you hit the nail on the head though, because you don't know how Daniel Jones is going to respond to it. This is how he's playing chess. Okay, I'm going to make a move, and he's either going to turtle up. Great, he gives me an opportunity and a reason to cut him out of the contract. I get a new QB next year, or he steps up. Great, now I got a quarterback at a bargain.
All right. So that is a good lead into our second preseason game for the Giants, right? Because the Giants played the Texans. The Texans is literally the darling of the NFL right now. Everybody's off of 1 year of CJ Stroud. They're putting them top 5 in the league and stuff like that. I'm not a believer of putting teams up there that quickly, but CJ Stroud seems to be a different type of quarterback. Seems to be a different type of. He looks like he's playing the part. So I'll ride along for now. You know what I'm saying? I'm really tough when it comes to seeing new guys and then saying, oh well, they're going to be great, this and that, and the whole 9 yards. So, but they are a very good team, top to bottom. Not CJ Stroud, notwithstanding, right?
Yeah.
So, in the early game on this past Saturday in the preseason, the Giants were in Houston taking on the Texans. They did lose 28-10. It is a preseason game. People don't get overly excited about what stuff that happens. But there are a couple of things that we have to take away from here, specifically about the guy that we were just talking about, which is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones did not have a good start to the game by any stretch of the imagination. When he was playing against the first team, I believe he was 0 for 6 or 1 for 6, I'm sorry, and 2 interceptions, one of them being a pick 6, the other one being and that pick 6, not a good one So he did kind of settle down with playing against the 2s and the 3s. I believe he played the whole first half, correct?
That was already predetermined, though. Dable had said that the whole first team, all the starters are playing the first half, and then second unit, third unit was going to come in the second half.
Yeah. So again, you don't want to read too much into these preseason games because this is, and even Dable said it himself. They were using this opportunity to throw deep to see if the pass protection would hold, which, to their credit, they did. The pass protection for the Giants was very good in that game. Their run blocking, not so much, but that's something that can be worked on. The most important thing, especially from last year, is keeping that quarterback upright, and it seems like this offensive line is doing their job so far. So the pass rush is probably a thing that worries, but again, preseason, guys, let's not overreact.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, my thoughts real quick on the game, everything has to be taken into context, right? Again, it's not the scheduled game. It's not the start of the season. They're going into the game with certain objectives, certain goals and certain tests that they want to play out. It's an experiment to see where they are so that they don't run into what happened last year, right? If we talk about last year, Daniel Jones saw one drive in preseason, and Dable and company are like, yeah, we got this. We've seen enough. We're okay. We can go into the season. We're good. And the next thing you know, the first 4 weeks of the season is our preseason, right? And everything went wrong in that first 4 weeks. Right. No pass protection, bad coaching decisions, bad injury management. Have harped on that plenty enough, and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that Dable, I don't know if this comes from Shane or Dable, but I think whoever it is that made the decision, I do believe that it's in Dable's hand because he's also now calling the offense.
Sure.
I think that he does not want to repeat the mistakes of last year and go into the season blind as to where their holes actually are. So playing, making it very well known that they're playing this game, the first unit in this first half of the game. Remains to be seen what's going to be happening moving forward with the final game coming up against the Jets. But making a conscious effort to really put them out there, make sure they feel what it's like to get hit, so they're not worrying about that for week 1, week 2. Make sure that they have protection like it's needed, and all that stuff. So, I like that this is what's happening because we've already talked about this as well. That league-wide, I think that league-wide, everybody has kind of given up on caring about the preseason, and that the first 4 weeks of the season is the actual preseason.
Yep.
I think that kind of benefits us because the Giants I think they're really looking at the preseason as meaningful games from how do I say, from an analyzation standpoint, from analyzing where the team is, what they need to do, and what they need to fix before week 1.
That seems to be a trend in the NFL also, because even in that first preseason, you saw guys like Burrow play and Mahomes play.
That's true. That's true.
And so
that's true.
I think.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it was just, I think that last year, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, that we all now know, especially because of last year, how unpredictable the NFL season actually can be. I think last season was an eye-opener for every single team that, we need to not go into the season thinking we got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
So I do think that, teams are now taking a little bit of a better approach, especially considering how many injuries we dealt with last year. Again, a lot of those injuries are kind of by happenstance, but maybe some of those injuries are from just not being properly prepared to start the season. So I like the trend of caring of teams caring about the preseason again. I do think that most of the games are mostly meaningless. Like, for example, this one, I only saw the first half completely, and I saw part of the third quarter. But I knew that okay, it's Tommy DeVito. I've already seen what he can do last year. It's second unit and all that stuff. I didn't care too much, right?
Right.
But we should talk about the teams and their performances, the quarterbacks and their performances, because I do want to highlight something that's very interesting. Daniel Jones did have a bad start, but I don't think that he had a bad finish, minus the 2 interceptions. Let's forget about the interceptions for a bit, okay? He started off pretty bad, but he ended again he ended over 60% completion rate with 138 yards and a half. Okay, so that means to me that he was on pace to still maintain over 60% completion rate with over 250 yards, which isn't an amazing number by any stretch of the imagination. But then when you compare it to Tommy DeVito's half, the guy that everybody says, hey, put him in instead,
Right.
he's under 60% completion rate, only got 75 yards, and the team scored no points. He had no interceptions, but they scored nothing. They did nothing in that half. And that's concerning because it shows that we still have a very serious quarterback problem.
I agree.
I think that Tommy DeVito is still a serviceable backup, but not a great one if he can't perform against the second unit of his opponents in a preseason game better than Daniel Jones, who everybody has their eyes on and who's coming back from a torn ACL and all that stuff, right?
Right.
So and then we have Drew Luck, who Luck, okay, who
is hurt.
did not have a good game, is out with an injury and stuff. Who do we have now? Week 1, we're going to have Daniel Jones and Tom DeVito, but who else? And if, God forbid, something happens to Daniel Jones week 1 and we have to ride with Tom DeVito, I'd be extremely scared. It's crazy to think that Daniel Jones is still our best option, even though I'm a Daniel Jones believer. How do we not have a 2 or 3 or even a 4 on the practice squad that can truly back us up?
Right.
That's scary.
So my take, as much as you are a Daniel Jones believer, I'm not. I've always thought, I think, no, and listen, I just look at it in the fact that, we're going into the 6th year and we're still talking about the issues that Daniel Jones had in his first year. And so I always look at it at a quarterback and the way that they progress as they stay in the league. And unfortunately, a lot of things that plagued Daniel Jones at the beginning of his career is still plaguing him now. And I'm looking at those 2 interceptions, but particularly that pick 6 that he was throwing the ball right in his end zone. That to me didn't feel like an issue of a guy trying to get his rust off. You know what I'm saying? That was just a very poor decision because in the case like that, and hear me out, I know you're going to bug out on this.
I didn't say anything yet. I didn't say anything. I just
but I see the steam coming out. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't say anything. I'm hearing. I'm listening.
But here, this is my opinion. What I'm saying is that these issues, the picks, the interception that he threw down the sideline again and again. We can't overreact because, quite honestly, this is preseason. That's where these guys are working their kinks out, trying new things that they would probably never do in the regular season. So, I give him the pass on that. But like I said, particularly with that pick 6 where he was in the end zone, that's a thing where a guy that's a 6th-year quarterback does 2 things with that ball. He either sails that ball out of line, out of bounds, or he dirts it at the feet of the receiver, and he did neither. He put the ball up into play where it was very, very playable for both the receiver and the defender, and the defender had the step on the receiver here. That is not a thing where the guy's trying. That is a questionable decision by DJ, and so.
Right, but I mean,
those are the things that bother me because this is not a rookie here. This is a guy that's been in the league for 6 years now. He should know better, regardless of whether you're in a preseason game, right?
Right, but all
right. I can forgive that long throw that ended up being an interception because you know what? He's trying to do a deep ball. We're trying to get in sync with these guys. He took a shot. I can live with those type of mistakes. I can't live with the one where he threw it right to the guy. So that's what I'm going to say.
Question, okay? How long has Travis Kelce been playing?
I'm sorry?
How long has Travis Kelce been playing with the Chiefs and in general?
It's been a bit.
His position. Huh?
It's been a bit.
Quite a long time.
Okay? Right.
Should he make the mistake of running the wrong route?
But again,
Well,
wait. No.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Humor me.
No, I get that, but remember, like I said, that's two different things that we're talking about here.
I just asked you to humor me,
right? So yeah, you're right. But again,
hold on.
with Travis Kelce, they're trying out new things. So if you're saying that, you know what, he was supposed to run one route and he ended up doing a different one because we're trying out a brand new thing in the playbook, that's a totally different thing. You're talking about a fundamental decision.
It's still what you would consider a rookie mistake by a veteran.
No, I wouldn't say that, because you know what? Guys run bad routes all the time. But
people make bad throws all the time.
Yeah, but that was a decision where it's like that's a very easy decision to make right there. You either dirt it or you throw it out of bounds. You don't put it in play, especially on a route where you're throwing to the flat. You know what I'm saying?
But
that's a very dangerous throw. So that being said, I can't look at yards and things of that nature in the preseason, because for me that's meaningless, right? It's more the type of play that you have. So DJ struggled with the first team, did great against the second team. Now your issue with DeVito against the second and the thirds and maybe even the fourths, that is a valid concern, and it makes you wonder why Tyrod Taylor wasn't brought back, because that's a guy that you could have used to make sure that if DeVito didn't work, right, you always had a very solid, capable, professional quarterback, you know, to kind of guide you in case DJ went down. Now you're relying on Drew Luck, who, let's be honest, he got this contract because of a Monday night game in Seattle where he played lights out, bringing that team back. But we've never seen Drew Luck perform at a high level at any point in time. Bringing him in and keeping DeVito was always going to be a very dangerous proposition for the Giants.
So this is where Hard Knocks is important, because they had for all intents and purposes, they thought they had Tyrod Taylor locked in. They were running with Daniel Jones, DeVito, and Tyrod Taylor until the next day of the second day of free agency. They wake up to a phone call that like Tyrod Taylor got an offer from the Jets and he's taking it. They had to pivot, but their plan was to sign and keep Tyrod Taylor.
So why didn't they sign him early on, knowing that was a possibility? Because I mean, backup quarterbacks, like you said, is a very important position in the league.
I think probably because they were really considering moving up to take a quarterback, and they had to wait to see what happened in the draft. Because if they take a quarterback, and then they have, either that QB is now QB number 2 behind Daniel Jones, or Daniel Jones can't come back and he's QB number 1, then they just still had to wait to see what happens. They signed early. They had so many contractual issues that they had to deal with, including Saquon Barkley, that they can't sign certain players and not have the flexibility to make decisions during the offseason. And I think that's what, again, one of the reasons
they were kind of stuck then.
They were stuck. They were. I think that they were mainly stuck because of Saquon Barkley, because Shane was really trying to sign him. He signed with the Eagles for literally just $1 million more. They had the offer. If you go to Hard Knocks, he told the agent, okay, we can fly him up and sign him today if he takes 12.5 at 25 guaranteed.
I really got to watch Hard Knocks, don't I?
He says that. He says
I really got to watch it. Right?
Like, we will sign this today. This is before drafting. I mean, before free agency. He says, okay, he'll agree to that. That's what he wants. If I give him that today, he'll come up. We'll fly him out today and we'll sign it today. And the agent goes like, well, we'll see. And then he goes like, well, what do you mean we'll see? It's like, I got to go back to him, see what he says, and this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. He was trying to sign him for that same number that day. And then what happened on free agency is that the agent calls him back and he's telling them, like, the agent's not being forthright with them. So that's the thing. They never actually gave Shane the numbers and the chance to match, because he's asking them, okay, so what number is he getting? It sounds from the call, because on this call, the Ed Barry, forget his exact name. He wasn't.
Okay.
It sounded like he wasn't being direct with the numbers, because Shane's like, "Is it more than I offered? Is it upwards of that?" And then he said yes. So then he goes like, "What about the guarantee? Is it more than I offered also?" And he said yes. And then he was like, "Well, we're not going to go past the guarantee." And at that point, that's when the agent says, "All right, then, so then we're going to take the offer."
Well, I think that, you know what, that
But
that to me is just kind of negotiation tactics and stuff like that, because
absolutely,
you don't want to give, like, I can understand where the agent is like, I'm not going to give you the numbers, I'm going to make you work for it. If I can tell you
absolutely,
whether in the ballpark, but I'm not going to tell you exactly what they gave me, because you know what, then I'm
no
kind
question
of
about it. Except
negotiating
one
against
thing.
myself,
Except one thing. Except one thing. Okay. Saquon gave his word that he was going to give them a chance to match.
Well, we've seen exactly how much word is worth in the NFL, especially
Yeah,
with the
that's
Jets,
what I'm
right?
just trying to say. Because I
So,
guarantee you,
but it goes
if
both ways also. It goes both ways also. It's not only player to owner, it's also owner to player too. So,
the year
listen,
before,
it's
let's not forget.
it's the nature of the
Yeah,
NFL,
yeah, no,
right?
absolutely, no question about it.
So,
But see, again, going back to that, the year before all this happened, Shane offered him 13 million, and he didn't want to take it.
yeah.
Like before
Well,
he signed
listen,
him to the
he
franchise
probably
tag, the
thought he
number
was going to
was,
get more,
yeah, that's the thing. So
you know.
before he signed the franchise tag, okay, the offer on the table was 13.5 million, and Saquon wanted 15 and did not want to move from 15. So because Shane said, "Okay, I offered you 13.5, okay, you didn't want to take it. Okay, go see what it is, and then tell me what it is, so that I can then have a chance to match it." I
Right.
guarantee you that if Shane had a chance to match $1 million with 13 million more dollars being opened up in the salary cap, okay, I almost guarantee that he would have taken it. For $1 million
Yeah,
more, I
yeah,
don't see how
and
he wouldn't have.
and I
But
think
anyway,
your
that's already
team,
in the past. That's already in the
right?
past. This is the now. And again, I still think that context matters. Coming off of ACL recovery. All I'm going to keep harping on it because it is important. This is his first drive in an actual game. You're going to make bad decisions and stuff. And what's important to me is not so much the bad decisions, but how you rebound. If Daniel Jones did not rebound in this game, I would have been extremely concerned. He was able
Yeah,
to
I know.
rebound.
Like,
He was able to
but
connect with neighbors. He was able to connect big time with a few with a few of his new tools, and the O line was able to give him protection. I see light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not saying that
I
I'm out of
just
the tunnel,
wish,
but I
I
see light
just
at the end of the
wish, I just wish that he had done that against the first team, because then I would have felt a little bit better. But again, I preface this with saying you cannot overreact just because
tunnel.
of the
Yeah, yeah,
preseason, right?
exactly.
So anything
Absolutely.
that we're talking about here, it's not. I'm not overreacting, and that's why I prefaced all of my
Yeah,
DJ comments, is because you know what, this is the place where you're supposed to work these things out. This is a place where you're supposed to try new things. You're fooling around with different concepts. So I get it, but to me, in my mind, there's still some little things that concern me about DJ, but I'm not going to harp on that.
yeah.
What I will
Well,
say
Chris,
is that the offensive line seems to be gelling really, really well.
yeah,
And that bodes well for your team, because you know what? That's going to open up stuff for Neighbors, which he is looking like an absolute superstar. Hyatt, I'm still questionable about him. But Darius Slayton, he is probably your MVP, because that man is about as consistent as you can get in that Giants wide receiving core, right?
yeah. I mean, for a while now, we've known that Daniel Jones has had the most synergy with Slay over the years. He's his most consistent receiver, so it
Yep.
stands to reason why they actually connect. And
He's
I
got a
think that
comfort level with him.
yeah, he's at a comfort level with him, and I just think that like that's kind of maybe proof positive that can happen with Neighbors as well. Now imagine if he has Slay and Neighbors that he can consistently and confidently throw to and rely on to bail him out. And with our new 26, I don't know if this is official number yet, but with our new 26, in Singletary, he didn't have like the best run game, but he, man,
Right.
juking and jiving, making people like he looked good to me. Like I cannot wait to see this man like really get going. I think that he had a pretty good game. Like I said, I see light at the end of the tunnel. I definitely think that we're going to have a much better season than last year. Most people predicting 4 games win, which is
Yeah,
crazy,
that's a little extreme.
which is
That's a little extreme.
With the upgrades that we got in this team, the idea that we're going to be worse than last year, one of the worst years in football I've ever seen, is crazy to me.
Yeah.
So again, light at the end of the tunnel for me. That's what I see. But you want to know what I don't see? Anything from the Jets. Can you tell me what happened?
So the Jets is they're 2-0 in the offseason. Again, let's not overreact, right? The Jets played absolutely nobody. I mean, literally, Garrett Wilson wasn't there. Breece Hall didn't show up. They didn't have.
They weren't even there. They weren't even suited.
No, they were there, but what I'm saying is that they didn't suit up. They weren't having Quinnen Williams, CJ Mill. They were literally playing second and third team starters from the very beginning. And you know what? This game showed it, because this game, to be quite honest, it was one of the more boring games that I've seen in a long time for the Jets. And that's coming from a season where they only won 7 games. But this thing was just an absolute slog. I will say there were a couple of positive things that came out of that game, but and the 15-14 is kind of misleading, because the Panthers literally scored a touchdown with 0 time left on the clock. So
it was really like 15-7.
Right, exactly. It wasn't the the gut wrenching, oh my gosh, will they, won't they, and stuff like that. This thing was just a game. You know what I'm saying? And you can tell.
I'm not gonna lie. I did check in like 2 or 3 times just to see, and maybe I don't know if it was a long day for me. I was coaching all day, jiu-jitsu tournament. It was a long day, so I was watching the game while I was watching the Giants game while I was coaching. And by the time I got home, I was kind of like a little too tired to like really pay attention. But it did kind of just look like sloppy, and like both teams were like kind of whatever. It just
penalties all over the place.
Like I'm not seeing like deep balls or like juking and jiving run play and stuff. Again, maybe it's because I'm comparing it to some of the stuff that I saw with DJ and Neighbors. Seeing like, even if you're missing, seeing these like freaking fastballs being thrown like 50, 60 yards. That stuff is exciting to me. It's like, that's what you want to see. Even if they miss, it's like you want to see like throws like that. And I remember I checked into the Jets, and it's like 3 or 4 plays, everything's a check down pass, slant pass, check down right here.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought
that was it the entire game.
I thought we traded Zach Wilson.
Well, listen, I wish we had Zach Wilson with his fancy new haircut. You know what I'm saying? But it was just.
You mean Mr. Incredible?
Yeah, exactly. This is the epitome of what preseason is about.
Yeah.
Especially lately. It's not your guys going in there and kind of adjusting to get ready for the season. It's just a bunch of second, third, and fourth team guys that are just playing, trying to make the squad. And the starters are on the sideline. They're talking to each other and stuff like that. That's basically what preseason really has become. There are a couple of positives I can take out of this game. Our first rounder, he played relatively well, in his first action as a starter, Olu Fashanu. So there's a positive thing. For sure. So he played well. The quarterback situation in terms of the backup, not so much. Paisley is the guy that started the game. He was very, very unimpressive. I think he was 7 for 11 with 33 yards. The guy that came right after him, who played very well last week, Adrian Martinez.
Yeah, I remember. That's who I did remember.
He was the MVP of the XFL. He didn't have a great game, but he showed how he can extend plays with his legs, which gives him, in my mind, an automatic just kind of like level up from Paisley. So I'm thinking here, you're probably looking at Martinez, that either he's going to start the year as the the third backup, or at the very least be on the practice squad. I don't believe that Paisley makes the squad unless something incredible happens within the last week or so, injury-wise or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I'm curious to know why you think Tyrod Taylor hasn't made an appearance, really. I know that he made an appearance in the first game for a drive, and he recorded negative yard.
I think what it is this is kind of like a very extreme reaction to what happened last year, first 4 plays of the season for them. Right, exactly. Which is as much as I like Tyrod Taylor, and I think he's going to be a great mentor for Jordan Davis because their games are kind of similar. Excuse me. But I think what's happening is that you're seeing Saleh really babying these guys and say, because we haven't really seen much of Garrett Wilson. We haven't seen anything of Quinnen Williams. They're keeping all their starters because they want to keep them fresh for opening night. You know what I'm saying? And so I think with Taylor, they already know who he is. He's a professional quarterback. He knows how to jump into these offenses. So there's no need to risk him out there.
It's true. He is like a career professional backup.
Right.
He knows how
exactly.
To be a backup. He knows how to he knows his role well of hey, I'm coming in here and taking over someone else.
Exactly.
Trying to prove that I need the starting job. You know what I mean? So I agree with that. My concern is in comparison to the Giants, where it seems like they're taking preseason a little bit more seriously to not redo the mistakes of last year. My concern is that the Jets go into the season slightly ill prepared to adjust when things are going bad.
No, I agree with you, and that's why I said it's kind of an extreme reaction to what happened last year. Because we haven't sniffed Aaron Rodgers at all. I don't even think
he hasn't even gotten dressed. He's been on the sideline, but not dressed. At least game one, Daniel Jones was dressed full gear and everything.
That's what I'm saying. So this is an extreme reaction by Jets management, by the Jets coaches, to kind of keep these guys safe, so to speak. Yeah. But like I said, the flip side of that is that you walk into San Francisco without having any real cohesiveness because you guys haven't been on the field. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And going into San Francisco against that defense, I would like to see a little bit more those guys playing together, especially the offensive line, because I don't think we've really seen those guys together. When they've played well. But it's been a very, very short and limited time that we've seen them. And with offensive line play, especially, which I kind of said before when we were talking about in the offseason, it does look like the Jets are doing a scheme change when it comes to their running game. They're stepping away from the zone blocking and they're getting more into gap, which is a really, really good thing.
That's the way to play. Breece Hall's going to have a lot more. I think.
But not only that, it's the zone blocking. The move to gap blocking, it benefits their younger players, the Braylon Allen and the Isaiah Davises, because they're used to that type of style of play and they excel at that. So and Breece Hall can do wonders in that type of thing because that's more of a react type of thing as opposed to the zone blocking where it's like you're kind of waiting for that thing to kind of develop before you hit anything. This makes it more instinctual for these running backs. So I think that'll benefit them. But also at the same time, if they move toward a more of a running game, that's only beneficial to Aaron Rodgers because now you don't need Aaron Rodgers to be MVP Aaron Rodgers. You need him to be more of a, and I hate the way this is going to sound, but follow me on this. He's going to be more of a game manager in the sense where a lot of the stuff is going to be run, pass. But
you think so?
No. I mean, I think it's going to be.
I
more
bet you
even thing.
Yeah, in order to keep him as safe as possible.
But I think in a way that benefits him because you know what, you're not putting that wear and tear on him anymore. It's going to be really pushed over to the running backs because the running backs are really going to be the lead in this offense. But yet you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers who at the end of the game still might have the capability to take the game over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're kind of saving him for those moments. So for me, I think that works.
I think it's something really important to kind of keep an eye on, because to me, it just seems, and I've actually been kind of like saying this, it almost feels like, I don't know how exactly I phrased it before, but it's like the Jets or the Giants are like one phase behind each other.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yep.
And I'm worried that like they're repeating the mistakes that we did last year. Week one, like there's a lot of issues. Like for us, like our old line was like, oh, I thought I was supposed to block here. No, it was over here, and like everything starts waterfalling and stuff like that. You're introducing a bunch of new things with the Jets, including a scheme change and all that stuff, but not getting not getting a chance to like really try to implement these changes under duress, under the fact that you have a team trying to hit you hard and getting ready to get hit. I don't know, man. Your schedule's not that easy.
To that point, I will say this. I would normally be worried about things like that, but the guys that you're entrusting them to learn this scheme, you're looking at a guy like Morgan Moses, who's been in the league for quite a bit. You're looking at a guy like Tyron Smith, who in all likelihood will probably go to the Hall of Fame. So you're not trusting this to like rookies or just regular guys. You're looking right about that. You're bringing in guys who have the capability, the mentality to understand the concept without actually practicing it, and then taking that and putting it on the field. So with that aspect, I'm not as concerned, but I do still believe that there has to be some cohesiveness, because even though you know the concepts, you got to be able to know what your neighbor, so to speak, is doing, right? If you're the center, you want to know what your guards are doing. If you're the guard, you want to know what your tackles are doing, right? And vice versa and all that stuff. So there is importance in playing together so that you know how to play together. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So with that being said, I look at how these things are progressing and stuff like that. And like I said yesterday, not the greatest. You're not going to get anything out of that game, except you're going to see a couple of guys that shined. Broderick, I think Coddington, he's the guy that's trying to make it on special teams. Xavier Gibson is probably going to be the guy that's going to be your punt and kick returner. But this guy is making a push for that because he's been playing well. He played well last week on defense, and on this week he kind of shined on special teams. So that's a guy that, that's what this preseason is built for, kind of picking those diamonds of the rough. And
Anaconda has actually grabbing them. A lot of play time, a guy that you like and stuff. So interested to see how much they're going to use him or how well they'll use him, in the actual season.
Right. The one last thing I will say about the Jets, and this is going to bleed into kind of like our mini discussion of what this next topic is. Will McDonald. Now, Will McDonald played about 30% of the snaps this past game. He didn't do mind-blowing things, but you kind of see what Will McDonald, if he plays well, can bring to the game, because he had that spin move that resulted in the sack. And I got to tell you, you can't teach that. That was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, and you're hearing his name being thrown around a lot over the last couple of weeks.
Right.
In practices and stuff like that. So, another really exciting name to look out for, in season.
Right. And so what you have going on here. You're seeing Will McDonald in his second year kind of trying to put it all together and stuff like that. And he's still a raw talent. So he's not there yet, but you're seeing those flashes, right? And you hear about Michael Clemens, who's, you didn't see a lot of him yesterday, and you didn't hear his name put, but you hear Ulbrich saying, he's doing a lot of good things, especially in the rush. When I hear that, that's kind of like a dog whistle to say, hey, Hassan Reddick, maybe we don't need to pay you all that money.
Yeah,
maybe you need to get your ass up in here and start playing and stuff like that, because
he's
you may think Hassan Reddick that you are a vital piece to this Jet defense. And you know what? If he comes in, I will say that he is, because you know what? He opens up a lot of stuff for Quinnen Williams. He opens up a lot of stuff for Jermaine Johnson, you know, and that whole defensive line takes a different look to it, right? But Hassan Reddick, we also have Will McDonald waiting in the wings. We have Michael Clemens, who's been playing well. Don't think that you are the luxury that the Jets desperately need to get back in here. So it's interesting to see how this plays out, because he's already paid, as of this moment, $1.35 million in fines for not being in camp right now. So, and I just want to touch really, really quick, because I know we're running short on time here. Let's talk about the Hassan Reddick situation as a whole, because we've heard a lot of things lately about how this thing went down.
And
I've got thoughts.
Baby. That's all. I'm gonna cut you off. That was another Jets fumble. No question.
You know what?
About it.
You know what? I can't really fight you on this one, because you know what? Here's the way I look at it, right? A lot has been said about Hassan Reddick and the Jets, and how the Jets brought him in here with the expectation that he was still going to play on that contract, that he was going to honor the last year of the contract, and that they would at some point in time start talking contracts, right? Extension. And I've never heard that before when you're talking about an NFL trade, right?
Yeah.
But it does happen. It does happen. I believe there was a case this week where they were talking about, I forget what the player was, but it was kind of a similar situation where they brought him in and they said they were going to talk, they were going to do talks, and it never manifested and stuff like that. So it does in very, very extreme cases, but I happen to like Joe Douglas. I think what he's done to make this roster an elite roster with the young talent that he's brought in, given where he started from, I got to give him a lot of credit. He fumbled the ball on this one. He really did.
I'm going to give you an analogy that might make sense.
Okay.
Joe Douglas is Zach Wilson. He hits
a lot of nice
plays. He hits a lot of nice plays and stuff like that. But when he does bad things, when he misses real bad. And you kind of
the pendulum swings with him. You know?
Yeah,
the pendulum does swing with him.
Man, Garrett Wilson, you got Aaron Rodgers.
It's all extremes.
Defense and all that stuff. But damn, he misses with Zach Wilson, and then he does this with Hassan. The Eagles were shopping Hassan and telling every single team he wants a new contract. Okay, they had to tell them that he wants a new contract. If I'm not mistaken, it was part of their rules. Like, hey, like we're putting him out there, but he wants a new contract. Okay, understand that. That's like me telling you, Walt, hey, I'm selling you this car, but it's gonna need a new engine, and you saying it's okay, I'm gonna be able to drive it still. And then it breaks down where you need to invest on a new engine, and then getting mad that it breaks down. It's the exact same thing.
And
that the exact thing is not an injury, but it's the fact that you need to invest more into it.
Right. And you look at it from Hassan Reddick's standpoint, right? He's going into a walk year. Now, you as a player, you want to know and have that kind of like, security blanket to say that, you know what? I'm working this final year. I want a new contract because God forbid I get hurt.
Exactly.
There goes my payday out the door. So you know what? I can't really blame.
He gets hurt and stuff like that. He may not come back from it.
I can't really blame Hassan Reddick on this. And you know what? The other thing is, you look at his agent. His agent, this is something that Joe Douglas should have seen, right? Because his agent has done this plenty of times with other players.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like this is the outlier for him. This agent has done this before. These are all red flags that Joe Douglas kind of just looked and said, you know what, I'm not even going to
He
worry
was
about
like
this.
hopeful. He was like, oh, it's okay, we'll figure it out after, not realizing that like he's
I
not
wonder
figure it out.
I wonder how much stock he placed into the fact that Aaron Rodgers was on this team, and the Aaron Rodgers effect in terms of, hey, play with me, we'll win a championship. Forget about that contract stuff. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if that had kind of something that creeped into Joe Douglas and said, well, listen, I know that you're looking for a contract, but we're offering you an opportunity to win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Come and play with us. You know what I'm saying?
It's
a bad strategy. It's a bad strategy.
Yeah, but I would counter that with most likely not, because again, the Eagles were talking to a lot of teams about Hassan Reddick, telling them, hey, like he wants a new contract. And why did every other team pass Hassan Reddick up?
No, I agree.
When the only thing that the Eagles took was, hey, yeah, give us a 3rd round pick for him. You could take him. Pick. That's it. Nothing else. Not a trade for anybody else. Not multiple picks. Nothing. And it's a conditional 3rd round pick. You know what I mean?
And listen, like I said, I can't defend Joe Douglas on this one because you know what?
This is really bad. I mean, that's kind of indicative.
It's a bad look.
Like, it's like a car that's too good to be true. You got like this Porsche, but they're selling it. They're selling it. Oh yeah. Just take it for $1,000. It's all good. I like you, so I'm gonna give it to you for $1,000. I can see like the Eagles going like they probably already had their eyes set on Huff. I don't know if Huff happened before. I don't know if Huff happened before.
It happened before.
It happened before.
It happened before.
Yeah, so I mean, like in their mind,
first day of free agency, I think they signed him. You know what I'm saying?
They're just like, hey, you know what? I like you guys. Here's. We took Huff from you guys. We'll give you to him just for a 3rd round pick. I bet you they were like, just throw anything at me, and I'll take it.
Nah.
That should be the freaking the red flag. Like, whoa, something might be wrong here. And
I know.
I don't put a ton of weight on the press conference that Hassan held, saying that he's going to play and stuff like that. If you read a little bit more into his responses and that press conference that he had with the Jets, you could tell that there was something a little bit more where he's like, yeah, whatever it may be, I'm here to like give my best to this organization and stuff like that, figure out the contract stuff. But you could tell that the reality was that there was something more serious going on there. He spoke with kind of a prepared
it was a canned speech.
Yeah, exactly.
Canned speech.
But it was kind of one of those like, hey, I know we got stuff to do. I'll say the right things in front of the press while we work on it.
Exactly.
Now, we're not working on it. Okay, now I don't need to hold myself to that speech.
Yeah, and I hate to say it. I hate to say it because you know what? I love my Jets fans, but you know what? Calm down with Hassan Reddick. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what? The man is doing what he needs to do for his family and his situation.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
absolutely.
saying?
Yeah,
and this whole thing
he brought up with the Jets. This was something that he was already doing with the Eagles.
Right.
Okay.
So, like I said, I'm a Jets fan, tried and true, and I love Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas fucked up on this one. There's no other way to say it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's just the reality of it. Before we go, I do have to highlight one thing that we kind of missed on the Giant thing. Elijah Campbell. Did you see that play?
I mean, who did it?
Okay. Are your 280-pound free agent rookie lineman,
my man,
running
the definition of a freight train, bro. Definition, like, oh my god, like I saw that, I'm like,
do you know that that 280-pound man ran the second fastest time in that game?
Yeah,
he ran from that point
too.
I think he was running at an 18-mile-per-hour clip. That 280-pound man-child of a brute that ran down that running back with ease,
bro. Yeah, dude. He was just like, I mean, I think what's funny? What's funny? That like that running back was probably like, oh, I'm free. Then he looks back and he sees him like, oh, what the hell?
He's like, what the fuck?
Can you imagine like seeing a linebacker running that fast at you, bro?
He's not even a linebacker. He's a lineman.
Yeah,
he's a big fatty.
Yeah.
He's a big fatty. Come on now.
Yeah, dude.
That
was amazing.
Hustle play of the year and I'm
in a
calling it right
preseason
now.
game, bro. Yeah,
You know
that's
what I'm
amazing.
saying?
I can't wait to see that actually happen, though. I can't wait.
He's gonna make the squad. He's gonna make the squad.
Yeah,
That
for
kid's
sure.
been playing
Like
well.
something like a performance like that, one play like that. That's exactly. I mean, especially Dable, who's like, "Yo, just hustle." All he cares about is fight. He wants dogs, right? It's so well known now. Again, if you see Hard Knocks, that all he cares about is dogs. It's like, who has a dog? You know,
you got to understand, when they walk in on Monday, they're probably going to be playing that play on every single TV in the facility. You know what I'm saying?
Funny? I know that we got to end pretty much right now.
Yep.
But there's another thing. So, like in the post game interviews, this is something that super impressed me with Neighbors. Okay, they asked them, about the play that was intercepted and stuff. The drops and stuff like that, and he responded with like such professionalism, like he's a veteran, receiver and stuff like that.
Davis is gonna be good, bro.
He took complete ownership and everything. But the thing that was really interesting is that he said, how does he deal with drops, or rather, how's that conversation going with Dable and your relationship with Dable and stuff, and how do you deal with the drops? And he said that like Dable straight up asked me like, "Hey, how do you deal with a drop?" And he said, "I deal with it really bad. I deal with it terrible. I don't forget it. I can't deal with it." And Dable's the one instilling him with like, "Well, learn how to deal with it. Okay, when you drop, it's next play up. Okay, it's immediately next play up. You have plenty of time after the game to think about the drop and all that stuff. But when you're playing, it's next play up." And he was pointing to the fact that like that's how the entire team is, including Daniel Jones, including himself. And it's when there's a drop between him and Daniel Jones, he's not thinking about it anymore. He's on what's the next play. And that's why they were able to kind of rebound and have the chemistry that they have, because they were asking specifically about the chemistry that he and Daniel Jones have. And that's where this kind of came up. And what that kind of, reminds me a little bit of, or not reminds me, but it kind of makes me ask the question just in general, not pointing anything or not calling anyone out specifically. Not a call out, okay, but I am going to name somebody specifically. But Garrett Wilson, could he benefit from that kind of mindset? Because I think that Garrett Wilson has shown frustration in the last season and maybe a little bit in this preseason, where if there's like a miscommunication or something, he may be kind of like not dealing with the drop or whatever happened in the play versus just like, all right, let's get to the next play. I'm just throwing the question out there. I have no idea.
This is what I will tell you, and I've listened to a lot of Garrett Wilson press conferences and news clips and stuff like that. Garrett Wilson this year is a different player, and I think you're seeing, in my mind, I think you're seeing a maturity of he's realizing the leader that he needs to be in that locker room, and you're kind of seeing it. We mentioned it a couple of times in his quite animated conversations with Aaron Rodgers in those training camp videos and stuff like that. And I think and you hear Aaron Rodgers tell it, and it's like that comes from a place of competition, that comes from a place from where he's trying to learn. And listen, when you're on a football team, you're not always going to be seeing eye to eye on certain things. You know what I'm saying? And, you can, again, to use the phrase before, kind of turtle up and take it, or you can go out and say, you know what, I need to understand this. And so I think what you're seeing from Garrett Wilson now is that he's not only putting that burden on himself, but he's also expecting it from other people, including Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I think there's that difference. Would he benefit from a guy like Neighbors being on the team? Oh, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Iron sharpens iron, right? So, and like I said, it's going to be fun for the next 10 years trying to decide which is the best wide receiver in New York, because you have two candidates that quite clearly could be Hall of Fame material going forward. You know what I'm saying?
That'll be interesting.
And I'm giving a lot of praise to Neighbors here, because you know how I am with these young players. I need to see before I start giving praises. But from what I've seen of Neighbors, that dude's going to be a dog.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I think that he's going to be a dog, but I think that he already comes with the leadership package that we
exactly.
So,
exactly.
I'm excited for them and stuff like that. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited for everything. Yeah. And it was so good to kind of catch up with you and finally record with you. There's
Absolutely.
A lot of fun, looking forward to the season ahead of the Giants show.
And you and I next week, we're heading over to MetLife because we've got the Battle of New York coming up. You know what I'm saying? Jets and Giants. So I don't have to make two different things because you know what? It's one game, one place, one time. You know what I'm saying?
Cool, baby.
So, all right. So that's pretty much it for this episode.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. Gabe, thanks for being here. And until next time,
go Giants.
Go Jets.
Go Giants.
And
go Giants.
Go Giants. Go Giants.
And then
this is our preseason, bro.
We gotta get the Kings.
This is our preseason, bro. Okay. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's do that again.
Go Giants.
Go Giants.
Go Jets.
Go Jets.
All right.
Later.